What's up guys, we're here in Zadar, Croatia, and in this video we're going to show you the best things to do in and around the city. So hope you enjoy it.
Zadar is located in western Croatia, along the Adriatic Sea. Home to a historic old town of Roman ruins, medieval churches, charming squares, and lots of entertainment, Zadar is an intriguing city. It's a smaller version of Split and Dubrovnik, with lesser crowds and a more relaxed atmosphere. And while its old town isn't as picture-perfect, it's the well-preserved ruins, art installations, and proximity to nearby nature attractions that makes this place a must-visit. In this video, we highlight 10 amazing things to do in and around Zadar. We'll first tackle things to do in Zadar itself, and afterwards, we'll highlight the most beautiful nature places that you can visit nearby. So let's dive in. We are Zach and Ina. We make helpful videos about destinations around the world so you can easily plan your own adventures. Declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Zadar's Old Town is probably the first place that you'll visit. Located on a peninsula and encircled with walls, the Old Town dates back to the 9th century BC, when a Liburnian tribe settled here. By the 1st century BC, Zadar had become a small Roman colony, but the Slavs, Venetians, Austrians, and Italians all took over at some point, making Zadar the oldest city to be continuously inhabited in Croatia. Today, you can find architecture and structures from different time periods here. To understand the complex history of Zadar, it's best to go on a guided walk here. Find a link to a 1.5-hour walking tour of the Old Town in the description below. One of the most interesting things about Zadar is how Roman ruins seem to blend in with the city's streets. This is very apparent at the Roman Forum in the heart of town. Built between the 1st century BC and the 3rd century AD, this was once the center of urban life. And today, it's one of Zadar's most important landmarks.
So one really cool thing here in Zadar is all these Roman ruins. They're actually just in the open. You can just walk through it, like they're spread around the whole city.
Another fun thing to do in Zadar is climbing the bell tower of St. Anastasia. After ascending a few sets of stairs, you'll get to the top of the tower. Here, you have 360 views of the Old Town, the Adriatic Sea, and the neighboring islands. You can also combine your visit with St. Anastasia's Cathedral, which was built in the 12th and 13th centuries, but unfortunately heavily bombed during World War II. The Zadar seafront, also called Riva, is a great place for a pleasant stroll and a sunset. With views over the islands and the endless open sea to the northwest, the sunset here was labeled as the most beautiful sunset in the world by Alfred Hitchcock. So take a seat along the waterfront and enjoy the art of nature. At the tip of the Riva, you can find 2 fascinating modern art installations. The sea organ is a musical instrument played by the action of the waves. A series of underwater tubes are set beneath the marble steps and create a soothing tone, which gets louder when the sea is wilder. The nearby Greeting to the Sun is best visited after sunset. This spectacular circular installation contains cells that absorb the sun's energy during the day and then releases it in a vivid art display when it becomes dark. If you're lucky, you can catch some live music while you're there. Given Zadar's location along the Adriatic Sea, it's no surprise that there are many beautiful beaches around. You could easily spend your entire vacation just lounging around the shores. While Kolovara Beach can be found near the Old Town, Punta Mika and Boric Beach are a bit further from the center, but more beautiful in our opinion. Croatia is full of wineries, and Croatians are very proud of their wine. In Zadar, you can find a handful of wineries in the hinterland that offer tastings. We went to the Degara winery, which is a 20-minute drive from the Old Town. We tasted their red and white wines, which also included a delicious charcuterie board. It's a perfect spot for lunchtime. Only 1.5 hours north of Zadar, you can find Croatia's finest natural attraction, the Plitvice Lakes. This world-famous national park is known for its large network of karstic lakes and stunning waterfalls. With amazing colors of the various lakes that cascade down the valley, walking around this park truly offers a fairy tale-like experience from beginning to end. We went on a guided day trip from Zadar around mid-October, and the beautiful fall colors were visible all around us. It was a great time to visit as the crowds had already subsided.
So we just got off the electric boat, which was really cool because it was super quiet. We're about to go to the big waterfall, which is another highlight of the day. And we wanted to recommend that you do this as a guided tour because there's actually limited entry to the park every day. Plus the guides know it, it's a really big park, so they'll take you to all the good spots, which brings us to the sponsor of today's video.
Get Your Guide is a platform where you can book unforgettable travel experiences. They actually have 60,000 curated experiences from destinations all around the world. And one of the cool things is that the guides are always locals who have a lot of knowledge about the history of the area. For instance, our guide on the Plitvice Lakes tour explained how the lake edges and waterfalls were formed from calcium carbonate buildup on rocks and moss over time, creating the travertine dams along the lake edges where water is now overflowing. But besides fascinating information, Get Your Guide also offers a great experience using their app. We used it to pre-book our Plitvice tour and found it very easy and intuitive. Your ticket is available right on your phone, so you don't have to print anything. There's also 24/7 support, and you can cancel your tour for free up to 24 hours in advance if something comes up. And the last thing we like about the app is the skip-the-line ticket options. It saved us a lot of time during our travels in the past. Overall, we believe Get Your Guide is the best place to pre-book travel activities right now and highly recommend them. You can find a link to book your own Plitvice tour, as well as other tours from Zadar in the description below. Stretching for 145 kilometers, or 90 miles, the Velebit mountain range forms the natural barrier between inland and coastal Croatia. Paklenica National Park takes up a small part of the mountain range and boasts some of Croatia's best hiking and climbing. In fact, with over 500 equipped routes of all different lengths and difficulties, it's known to climbers all over Europe. Most visitors come to see the two spectacular gorges, Velika and Mala, which have sheer cliffs that rise over 700 meters in some places. We hiked through the Velika Canyon, which was both peaceful and stunning. Another great thing to do from Zadar is to cruise to the beautiful Telašćica Bay and Kornati Islands. These parks are only accessible by boat tour and provide a great city break. At Telašćica Bay, you can swim in the salt lake or walk to the cliffs. The scenery is beautiful here, especially with views from above the cliffs. Kornati National Park is a chain of 89 islands, islets, and reefs scattered across the sea. You can admire them from the boat and swim in the sea during the lunch stop. All tours generally include lunch, but the one we did also offered a small breakfast and lots of wine. You can find a link to that tour in the description. If you're planning your trip to Croatia, we recommend keeping things organized with our interactive travel planner. Find a discount code below. We also included important links that you'll need for your Zadar trip in the description, such as a full travel guide with where to stay and eat, as well as an interactive map to get directions to each spot. We'll catch you on the next adventure.